Welcome to Thriver TV, the place to break free from narcissistic abuse with quantum tools and understandings. So in today's episode, I want to talk about the aspects of narcissistic abuse recovery when we think, how long will it take for me to heal? Maybe we're still deeply mired in the pain and we feel like we are never going to get out of the trauma. And it may have already been years or even decades of emotional agony. And logically, we may have believed time heals all wounds, so why aren't these wounds healing? Why do I still feel so broken and traumatized? And the other aspect of how long will my healing take is when we've discovered how to shift our trauma out of our body, and we just want to work on ourselves 24/7 to get all our wounds up and out and be healed now. And we can feel shocked and dismayed when yet more wounds come up to be cleared. I remember when I started working out how to shift my trauma out, that I just wanted every day to be the last day that I would ever have to shift anything. Like digging water out of a hole and finally emptying it. And a lot of you would relate to feeling like that still. What I want to talk about today in regard to when we get frustrated with our recovery is pain, and how we deal with it, and how this has got everything to do with the quality and the time frames of our recovery. Truly, how we deal with the pain is key. And this is what I want you to start comprehending right from the start. There is a purpose to pain. There is a resurrection in the pain. But we can never access the transcendence that can be extracted from the pain when we try to avoid it and we run from it, which is everything that our conditioning has been. Please understand the pain is trying to get our attention, and when we move toward it in the intention to love and heal those broken parts back to wholeness, then we're on our way to our personal evolution and freedom, and we will start experiencing the joy of that even when we're still very wounded. In stark contrast, when we're turning away from the emotional trauma wedged in our inner being, it has to amplify and get worse and worse to get our attention. Anyone telling you to block it out, ignore it, and just get on with it is leading you into wrong town. Disowned trauma does not go away. It will bite you, which is what anxiety and depression and ongoing reoccurring traumatic patterns in our life are all about. The effects of that trauma saying, come to me and heal me. Emotional trauma is an opportunity, yet we were taught not to think of it like that. Those of us who are on the quantum journey, who have worked this out, deeply understand that each time we release a trauma from within us, all of the energy that we were previously burning trying to manage the wounds inside of us gets released into the literal power of creation. It's a quantum law of creation. Within the darkness is the opportunity to mine and release the greatest of light. Every time we release darkness from within our inner being, the space where it was fills with light, which feels like joy, inspiration, and powerfulness. Because this is another quantum truth. There is only light, which we experience without our wounds. People ask all the time, how do I learn how to love myself? How do I start to feel happiness? The answer is, these are all natural states that are deeply coded in your being, that you already are at a cellular level when you lose the wounds that have been separating you from experiencing that truth. When we start freeing ourselves from our wounds, what happens is one wound at a time, we're shifting from being a being who was locked down in survival, trying to exist in life with our wounds, into a being aligned with creation, which is the natural state of the universe in your cells when you're no longer clogged up with trauma, having consciousness, pure consciousness, able to flow through you as you. And that's what you're aiming at becoming. And the joy of the journey is in every death, rebirth opportunity. Each trauma being felt, held and released, and light filling that space, allowing you to become who you really are. Yet our wounds are seductive, and they can even be addictive. And from a peptide perspective, they definitely are. peptide rushes, which are huge doses of chemicals filling our being, which is experienced as powerful, impactful emotions, are being manufactured in our brain's hypothalamus and dispensed through our bloodstreams, and they are more addictive than heroin. If we are indulging in regular doses of trauma because we've not released and freed ourselves from the internal trauma generating it, we get hooked and hardwired on these states of anger, righteousness, judgment, and victimization. We get the significance of being stuck in our victimization. We know it can get us attention from others. It allows us the reasons not to take responsibility for our own life. We can also connect with other victims and get the short-term fix of relishing in each other's wounds, the camaraderie about what good people we are and how terrible it is that evil people exist. Yet we're devastated that we're still not healing, and even though we find some solace in these times of venting about our trauma with each other, the wounds keep screaming inside us and the pain doesn't go away. Then we feel addicted to venting more, and even though it's giving us short-term relief, sometimes we find the pain is still there and even escalating. The true reason for that is because we're doing everything but the one thing that will start healing the wound for good. Go towards it ourselves. Talking about our wounds is not going towards them. Going to them is this: holding them and feeling them and opening our heart with love to them. Going to these parts of ourselves that are signaling through our troubled emotions with the devotion, love, and fierce dedication of a parent who adores their child and would do anything for them to take the pain away. Taking the pain away is not done through distractions, diversions, or substitutes, just as it is not done by bullying, criticizing, lecturing, and admonishing ourselves. We cannot persecute and shame ourselves into healing. It's done by deeply being with that wound, open-heartedly and feeling it and then releasing it. That is what true self-partnering is about. Self-partnering is not about being a fair weather love source to ourselves, such as, okay, I'll hang out with my inner being only when he or she is happy and healthy. True self-partnering is the level of partnering that anyone who loves anyone unconditionally would do. I will hold you, see you, hear you, and validate you no matter what. It's the dedication of your emotions are important and you are important, and I'm not going anywhere until this is healed to completion. How many of us have never done this for ourselves, and then we've been so traumatized because no one else granted us this either? Which has been insanity, the insanity that we were never taught this, the quantum truth of other people will only ever partner with us at the level we partner with ourselves. So many of us now in this community, including myself, thank goodness rectified this, and we do have people in our life who adore and love us unconditionally. And the only reason these people have come into our lives and we're able to accept love at this level is because of our own self-partnering to ourselves. Now let's get back to the whole topic about how long is it going to take to heal from narcissistic abuse. There are some variables regarding the answer to this. The first being the amount of trauma and painful beliefs that are stuck in your inner being, not allowing you to be your organic state of space in your cells and well-being, which is source flowing through you as you, which is everybody's natural state without the trauma. So in other words, do you accept that this is the work, releasing that trauma no matter how much is there? The second criteria is how willing you are to go to and be fully super present with this trauma, which means unconditionally loving your wounds in order to heal them rather than keep running from them and not dealing with them. The third aspect is, are you going to take on the full responsibility of, because these traumas are in my being, I'm the only person who can get them up and out and heal them? Or are you going to stay victimized and resent others who caused them and hold them responsible for them instead? The fourth is, how comfortable are you with going toward and feeling pain? Do you accept that you can't heal what you're not prepared to feel? Do you see the opportunity and being unconditionally present with your pain to up-level it to the next highest, most actualized version of yourself? Or do you allow your pain to seduce you into rolling around in it in your head, beating yourself up with it, projecting it onto others, or trying to self-medicate it away? When we have not understood, accepted, and even loved what pain is really about, which is the offering of a breakdown, breakthrough opportunity that will release ourselves and our lives into trajectories that we never had access to before that shift, then we will run from it. And just like a car engine grinding or a roof leaking, if we turn our back on it, the pain and our life situations just get worse and worse. And that is the human insanity we've all been deeply entrenched in. The total lies about how relief is from outside of ourselves, which defies the greatest quantum law of all, so within, so without. How can we get our relief from outside of ourselves durably and for real when we're not granting it to ourselves? The truth is we never can. It's a quantum impossibility. Our inner traumas are never going to have someone or something else come to rescue them. They're waiting for us. They're waiting for our own true unconditional love, acceptance, and self-partnering. Then you will come home to massive relief and breakthrough, even before you are significantly healed. Because finally you're providing for yourself what you've been trying to fruitlessly find outside of yourself your entire life. And this I will share with you about the healing journey, and it's a key component of recovery. You are never going to reach a point where you can say, I am totally healed. I'm not there. And now that I understand quantum truths, there's no way that I want to be there. Why? Because the game of my evolution would be up if it was. There is nothing more invigorating and exciting for me now than my personal expansion, which is unlocking to greater miracles, joy, and discoveries about myself and life. No longer is my life conditionally based on, when I get this, I'll be able to feel this. All I'm interested in now is just creating more space and joy in my cells, which graciously and gloriously happens every time I embrace a wounded feeling in my body and release it and replace it with love and healing, which is what the quantum freedom healing process is. Then I feel completely different, more expansive, more integrated and wiser regarding that topic. And then I see my outer world shift to reflect that. But in no way am I trying to put the cart in front of the horse, trying to do life from the outside in, which never works. Trying to get the physical outer shift to give me the inner state. Rather, as thrivers, we're just working on getting the inner state. In fact, we don't even have an attachment to what does or doesn't happen in our outer world in any shape or form. Because when we truly understand with quantum law, understand and work with quantum law, our focus is on being the loving guardian and midwife of our emotional state. Because the infinite part of ourselves that gets aligned through ourselves as a result of releasing and up-leveling trauma works everything out better than any of us ever could. Something much bigger than ourselves is at the helm. Please understand this did not just happen for myself and others immediately. For myself, it took a long time, decades for me to get to this truth and to start living it. Before then, I was in crippling pain and forever obsessing about when will the pain end. That had been going on all my life. It was only when I turned inwards that it all started to fall into place. When we carry significant wounds, it can take a while. Even when we do turn inwards, there are many of us in this community who anchored in deep to dig our trauma out like soldiers in trenches for months on end. And we realised that there was no point kicking the can down the road any further. We wanted out of the trauma and we wanted to get to the other side. And what were some months of being in the trenches as opposed to a lifetime of ongoing pain with no one coming to fix it? And we realised that after creating enough space in ourselves to feel unconditional joy, love and inspiration as our true natural state, and then lovingly, partnering when any painful triggers presented to up-level into even more of that, that in essence, we've become our own powerful guru and creator of our amazing life. And meeting ourselves and being in the trenches, no matter how long it took, was the most amazing thing we ever did for ourselves. There are people in this community, truly, who start feeling joy and relief within weeks, and certainly many more within months. These are the people who very quickly accept the 4 key things that I'm going to go over again for you. Number 1 is knowing trauma needs to be released from your inner being in order to create space for well-being inside you. Number 2 is being super present with love for themselves by going towards their traumas and into their inner wounds. Number 3 is taking full responsibility to be the healer of their wounds, regardless of how they got there. And 4 is being willing to be with the pain and even thankful for it, knowing it's an incredible opportunity to hold and release trauma, bring in love and healing, and become one's highly actualized self. Because when we are no longer running from the pain, of terrified of feeling it, it certainly doesn't have to be as loud and as heavy to get our attention. Pain only takes us out when it needs to totally engulf us to get our attention. And it only does that to us when we try to avoid it. When we move towards it and hold it, it shifts from screams to relief. So I really hope that this has helped you feel a little better about the healing journey, which truly is a lifestyle. It's not a destination. And I'd love to discuss all of this with you further if you like. So please come over to the blog and join in the conversation, which is at blog.melanietoniaevans.com. And until the next episode, you know what to do. Keep healing, keep smiling, and keep thriving, because there is nothing else to do. Lots of love. Bye-bye.